The year was 1963. Our hero was the goalie for Real Madrid, one of the great soccer programs in the world. Not only was he the goalie, he was a great goalie. At that time, if you listen, the 10 best up and coming soccer players in the world, this would have been one of them. His dream was there. For the first 20 years of his life, all he dreamed about was being a great soccer player, the best. And he made it at 20 years of age. And after a victory, he and his friends went for a joyride. Yeah, there was probably some drinking involved, I admit it. And it didn't end up so well. The car rolled. Everyone got out safe except our hero, whose spine was completely compressed. And doctors told him when he woke up, he'll be lucky if he ever walks again. His soccer days were over. 20 years of age, and his dream was dead. Sat in the hospital for a year. Depressed? God, yes. Wouldn't you be? Down, miserable. His dream died. The nurse felt so bad for this guy, so bad for him, that without any thought, no research, no nothing, she went out and bought him a guitar. No one knows why. She bought him a guitar. She didn't know he played. And it turned out he played a little bit. And it turned out he sung in the chorus in his high school, but only because his girlfriend was in it. He really didn't give a crap about music. But nothing else to do. Locked away in a hospital, brain dead, totally depressed. So what does he start doing? He starts playing guitar every single day for 10 hours. Folks, how good would you be if you played the guitar every single day for 10 hours for 1 year? Answer, you'd be goddamn good. You'd be great. Started singing every day. 10 hours a day singing. Christ, I talk 10 hours a day. I could barely feel my throat half my life. And he was singing 10 hours every single day. How good would you be if you spent 10 hours a day singing for a year? He was a 20-year-old kid who lost all of his hope. But he found his virtue. 60 years and 300 million records later, every 20 seconds, somewhere in the world, they are listening to the music of a 20-year-old soccer player whose dream had died, named Julio Iglesias. When you find your virtue, you are unstoppable. That brings me to Jennifer Freeman and Eric Hansen of Peacegeeks International. They developed technology that brings hope and connectedness to hundreds of millions of displaced people all over the world. I want to show of hands. How many people in this room are first or second generation Americans? Raise your hand if you are. Okay, good enough example. That means you knew someone who was an immigrant who came here and was scared, nervous, upset, and really felt like they were on another planet, but they got help. These two developed an app called Welcome Coach. It has brought peace, hope, and in some cases prosperity to people all over the world. They found their virtue, and they are changing the world in the process. Jen, Eric, get up.
You so much, Stephen. I was actually planning on asking the same question. So just one more time. Who here was not born in the United States? Who here's parents were not born in the United States? Okay, so that's one. Who here has a neighbor or somebody that they are in close proximity to, family member, other, who was not born in the United States? Okay, now we've got virtually everybody. So, despite the fact that I do have an absolutely beautiful home screen, I'm not sure why my deck is not coming up.
Help is on the way.
Help is on the way. Fantastic. Sorry. Because I wanted to start with my story of migration. I became a migrant at 22. Hopefully, you'll also be able to see a picture of me migrating. I first went to northern Ghana, to a small village called Bolgatanga, where I had the opportunity, there you go, thank you. That's me at 22. Do any of you remember what it was like to be 22? You can get pretty idealistic, think the whole world is in front of you. So this was me at 22 in northern Ghana, working for a small local nonprofit. From there, I went on to live in 6 different countries across 3 different continents over the course of about 20 years, including coming to the United States of America as an immigrant, which was not a smooth journey, but that's a story for another day. And now I'm a citizen. Along that journey, this is one of the people that I met. His name is Nsabimana John. It was in 2004 when I was working in a refugee camp in southern Uganda. John was orphaned during the Rwandan genocide, and he fits nearly every stereotype that we have of a refugee. He's from sub-Saharan Africa. In the refugee camp, he was growing up in a mud hut, supporting his 2 younger brothers on the food aid and what little they could farm. He was malnourished, and he worked for the nonprofits in the camp, that's how I got to know him, to earn school fees so that he could send himself and his 2 younger brothers to school, and it was not a good school, barely had an education. By multiple measures, John was in hell, like we've been hearing about over the course of today. I'm going to come back to what then happened to John a little bit later. I've asked the question, Steve's asked the question. We have a room here of people who, when I was migrating, I called myself an expat. We were called expats as Western folks who were living in multiple countries. Whether somebody's an expat, an immigrant, a migrant, or a refugee, those are oftentimes legal determinations. But I think as we all know here, they're also political terms, and they're very personal terms as well. Chances are all of us work alongside, live alongside, are or love somebody who has migrated. Human migration is as old as human civilization. And what immigrants contribute is the foundation of a country like the United States. Wherever people are, you can find talent. You can find genius. However, there is not an equal distribution of opportunity for us to be able to see that genius, to unleash that talent, to match it to what its greatest potential could be. New York, this phenomenal, fantastic city, is by many measures the example of what happens when you leverage and provide opportunity to such a diverse group of newcomers for generations. We have a city where immigrants are contributing $383 billion. We have 51% of New York City business owners being immigrants themselves. 44% of the city's labor force is currently foreign-born, and 45% of the United States' Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants or their children, first or second generation immigrants. Again, this is a conversation that I don't feel like I need to convince all of you in the room about. You see it every day as soon as you walk outside. You live it yourselves. I took this picture of Einstein, interesting that he's come up already this morning, as I was walking to my hotel after I arrived here. Without him, without that refugee, we would not have the theory of relativity. Without OG, the Knicks wouldn't have an NBA championship. And without Emma Lazarus, we would not have the iconic words on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The essence of the American dream. Despite that power, that ability for every refugee and immigrant to the United States to be a builder, we have a system that has been created to help leverage and open those opportunities that right now at this moment is breaking. It's breaking in real time. People are here, but the support structures that help them leverage that opportunity are broken. This isn't just happening in the United States. This is happening globally. We have over 120 million people who are forcibly displaced worldwide. That's just forced migration. That is not also including voluntary migration. We also have countries that are facing tremendous population collapse, population decline. That's not what I grew up learning about. When I was a kid, we thought that overpopulation was going to harm our environment, our societies, our communities. Many countries, including the US, many Asian countries, Korea, Japan, many European countries are actually facing population decline in a way that's going to have catastrophic economic and social impacts in the years to come. With the loss of revenue of taxes, we're going to have an economy that can no longer support many of its services that aging populations are going to need. We have labor and talent shortages. And 0 countries right now are connecting that flow of talent and the dearth of opportunity effectively at scale. We have the possibility of immigration-driven growth, but there are so many bottlenecks in the system right now. There are complex barriers that every newcomer, every one of us who's lived in another country or whose parents experienced when they migrated here may have experienced. A language barrier to overcome, a legal system to navigate, credentials to have recognized as somebody's coming with professional experience, as well as the cultural obstacles to integrate successfully. They slow people down. They compound those barriers to being able to access your opportunity. We have scaling challenges. We don't have the ability, the systems that have been built to support people and help with integration aren't scaling very well. They're very human-based. They're very manual. And then right now, especially in the United States, as well as in Canada and elsewhere, we're having a collapse of the capacity to support organizations that have been created to welcome community members are rapidly shrinking. Funding is being cut back. There's policy and funding crises that they are weathering right now. And it is resulting in the United States in particular, a system that is being dismantled in real time. In 2026, the United States shut down virtually its refugee resettlement program. It cut its prior year's admissions by 94%, down to only 7,500 people being allowed into the United States through highly vetted refugee channels. Similarly, organizations across civil society, not just those supporting refugees or immigrants, those supporting all kinds of social needs, mental health, the arts, culture, and others, are being cut. And what we're hearing about in the immigration sector in particular is a number of organizations that I used to work with who have had their teams cut by up to 80%. So the problem is creating these dual crises, are creating one of the biggest challenges that the system has seen. I'm a person who, when I see a problem, I'm like, where are my skates? I do not sleep well at night. If there is something that is blaring in my head going, this is wrong, what can I do about it? I want to get my skates on and I want to see how can I get skates to other people? Right now, right as we are dealing with so many poly crises, we are also seeing one of the greatest catalysts for solution. It is not a solution in and of itself. It is a tool that we can utilize to be a solution if done right, if done ethically and effectively. And that's the emerging technologies that we are seeing transform every industry under the sun. The technology exists right now that could guide, match, credential people at scale. But most of the time, even though it's benefiting multiple industries, in the social service sectors, it has not yet been built for and with the people who need it the most. Until now. So this is what we do at Peacegeeks. We are a technology nonprofit, not two words that you often hear put beside one another. We started as a volunteer collective, people who worked at tech organizations who wanted to volunteer and give back and use their technology skills to support civil society organizations in conflict-affected countries to build their own website. That started growing into solving problems for the United Nations. I used to work for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees in refugee camps. They didn't have a mapping of the services that existed in one camp, let alone across an entire country. Peacegeeks built that. We've been building technology for humanitarian emergencies, forced displacement, and integration into countries like the United States and Canada for over a decade, nearly a decade and a half. We've been fortunate enough to win quite a few international awards, very grateful for. We've worked and deployed technologies across 3 continents, and we have users from over 150 countries utilizing our technology. We're supported by a few names that I think you would recognize. And one of the ways that we do it is by building solutions based on the problems that the people we are seeking to support tell us that they are facing. We don't come up with an idea in our head and say, oh, I think I'm going to solve your problem over here. Here's your solution. We ask the people who are migrating. We ask the newcomers at every stage of the journey, not just when we're designing. Where are you finding your information? What are you struggling to understand? What do you need to be able to find a school for your children, to be able to understand your rights or your opportunities? And in doing so, we are helping people have the information and resources so that they can navigate their own journey, so that they can chart their own path to find what they need and build a life of prosperity. First and foremost, technology helps us reach people where they are. When I worked in refugee camps, even today, when I'm in policy meetings, I work with governments and elsewhere, so many times their first word is, oh, but the refugees won't have access to technology. So that's why we can't do that. Yes, there are very diverse needs for multiple. My mom can't get on her email half of the time. I'm going over to her house and helping her with that. I'm not a technologist. My team are. They're all immigrant and refugees. They know how to do all this stuff a lot better than I do. I'm not saying everybody is just going to be able to automatically do everything. But the assumption that refugees, whether they're from sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, Asia, anywhere else, are not already accessing technology is largely false. There's been reams of research done. My own personal experience since working in refugee camps since 2003, 2004, I saw people with cell phones everywhere. Sometimes they're sharing them across 2 to 3 folks, but usually highly digitally literate, and they, like all of us, are getting so much of their information online. So going to where people are, creating tools that they can find themselves so that they're not getting the misinformation, disinformation, and sometimes exploitation that they are finding when there aren't vetted, trusted tools out there. In addition to direct B2C, we're also helping the entire system to evolve and thrive. So we offer a white label of our technologies so that nonprofit organizations supporting refugees and immigrants can brand it as their own. They can connect it to their services and staff and in-person programs so that people that want to go and talk to a human being have the ability to do so. The future is not only finding ways to share our skates, to continue this metaphor, but also to figure out where we need to be skating to and to match the supply with the demand effectively. So in addition to the successful tool that we've built, I'm going to show you our impact numbers in a second. The next phase of what we're creating is looking at the demand side and what are the industries that are most seeking talent that we can be supporting and directing people to right away. In a lot of the places we talk to, a lot of the countries that we're looking to replicate in that have asked us about replication, it's healthcare, it's skilled trades, it's technology, it's early childhood education. So we're creating our platform to be specific, working with partners in those industries to better make a talent match. We're looking at features like smart onboarding, path comparisons so that people know exactly what it would take to re-credential as a doctor so that we have less of this trope of doctors driving our Ubers and our taxis, more in our hospitals and clinics that we need. Or do I need a job right now? While I'm waiting to get re-credentialed as a doctor in New York City, what jobs can I be doing right now that are in the medical field, that are in demand and needed, so that I don't have to necessarily be working for Uber? Our reach in the last 2.5 years alone proves itself. Our tool has been deployed in Canada. It's been iterated on since 2017, but it has scaled and has its current iteration. Since August 1st, 2023, it has reached 455,387 unique individuals. That's as of about 4 p.m. yesterday. So it's already probably up about 2,000 more people. 118,000 over of that have been upskilled, gone through a series of modules that they self-direct. People find what they need. We don't tell them what they need. And 41,448 people in 2.5 years have found employment or started their own business after using the tools that we have created. Canada has a $2.6 billion funded immigration sector. Many organizations operate in the hundreds of millions. We have an annual budget of $1.5 million for my team of 11 people. The scale that we are able to reach is every single unique person receiving a service, $6.58. That's US. Our funding is actually in US. And that costs $71 for somebody to find a job and be able to support themselves and their family, as well as meet a need in the labor market. We're not about giving handouts. We're looking at doing this at scale. We hold the door open. Newcomers are able to do what they do best: innovate, grow, chase a dream, build our communities, our industries, and our countries. And the example that I always have in my head of one person of 455,000 and counting who has done that in perhaps one of the most high-profile ways is John in Sabimana. That boy who I met in the refugee camp, not through me, got an opportunity to go to a college in North America by that one flight, that one door open. He is now UNICEF's ambassador for Canada. He works at the Attorney General's office for the province. He has an undergraduate and a master's degree, and he was the recipient of one of Canada's highest awards, the Lieutenant Governor General's Award. Distributing opportunity creates unleashed talent. I have a goal of us reaching 500,000 Johns by the end of this year and doubling that through scaling to the US. I worked in the US in the immigration sector, my husband did in particular, for a decade. And our friends that we knew that worked in organizations all over the country, have been coming to us in this moment of crisis and saying, Jen, you build technology now. Our teams are getting laid off are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Every couple of months, we're having to go through more layoffs. Could you share your technology with us for the US so that our clients can continue accessing services because they no longer have a caseworker? We need to focus our few in-person team members now on the most acute demands, on the people who need the help the most. But we want to continue to provide services for everybody else. So our partners across the United States are asking for a version of their own platform. We just haven't had the resources yet to build it. We're not talking about tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. It would cost $75,000 for us to localize to the US with US information, US local connections, and the ability to serve people in Spanish and in English and a few other high priority languages so that people could have the tool here. For $500,000, we would be able to build, deploy, evaluate, and scale that up to any nonprofit within the United States. Even $10,000 results in a reach of 1,500 individuals that it would reach, and within our average is 6 months, 6 to 8 months, 138 people would have gained paid work on their own to support themselves or their family. So that is our invitation. It has been such a privilege to be here. You probably don't hear too many pitches from a nonprofit. We don't have the same financial returns in the short term, but we have the financial returns in terms of a system that can be protected and strengthened so that the kinds of economic growth that New York City and the United States are famous for can continue and not collapse in this moment. So I would love to have your advice. I know there's incredible knowledge and experience in this room, and I have no idea how we're doing on time. Probably not great, but if we don't have an opportunity for okay, 2 minutes. If we have questions in 2 minutes now, I would love to hear them. And if not, then I would love to continue the conversation afterwards and hear what recommendations you have for how we could strengthen this and bring this to benefit New York and city, state, and the country as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Fantastic.